welcome to InfoFire, the Fireside chat series from Information Matters. We invite a guest for each episode and have a conversation on a chosen topic. We bring diverse perspectives on some of the hot and happening issues or technologies impacting our information environment. I am Shalini R, your host for this series. I believe in the power of technologies as an equalizer and an enabler. I have deployed technologies for enhancing access to information through various funded projects such as HyperCal, hypertext-based computer-aided learning, Vidyanidhi Digital Library, Wikigyan, Internet Safari, and others. I am a strong advocate of open access, which has now evolved into open science. In today's episode of InfoFire, I'll be chatting with Dr. Maëlle Salmon, who is a great R aficionado. We will be chatting about the topic, is R the right tool set for eScience or open science? Let me take a moment to introduce our guest, Maëlle, to you. Maëlle obtained a bachelor's degree in biology with an emphasis on maths and quantitative work from the ENS UPMC Paris, France. She did double masters, an MSc in theoretical ecology and modeling from the same ENS UPMC Paris, and went on to do her Master of Public Health from Pasteur CNAM School of Public Health, Paris. She did her PhD in statistics from Ludwig Maximilian University, Munich, Germany. She worked as statistician and data manager for IS Global Center for Research in Environmental Epidemiology, Barcelona, Spain, for the CHAI project in Telangana, India. CHAI stands for Cardiovascular Health Effects of Air Pollution. Maëlle has worked on several R-related projects funded by the R Consortium. Since 2017, she has also been an associate editor for rOpenSci's software peer review, that is, a peer review system of R packages. Maëlle co-founded the R Ladies Barcelona chapter of R Ladies, which is a worldwide organization to promote gender diversity in the R community. She is also the main manager of R Ladies Global Ticker account. She is a prodigious blogger and through her popular blog identifies and tackles a data science question, writes about her approach and shares her solution. On GitHub alone, Maëlle has made 150 repositories available and has more than 4,500 contributions in the last year alone to her credit. Perhaps what describes Maëlle and her position and rationale behind her evangelical zeal towards developing the R toolsets and the community is the quote that she used as a prologue to her PhD thesis. I quote, "Let my toolset change your mindset about your dataset." That is Maëlle to you. Now let us go on to chat with Maëlle. Hi, Maëlle. Welcome to InfoFire, the Fireside chat series from Information Matters. We are delighted to have you with us today, and I'm looking forward to chat with you and see how it unfolds, the topic of your passion for R and how you think R is the right tool set for eScience. Okay? So from where I stand on my perspective, it's all about eScience. I define eScience as computationally intensive with huge data sets and something that requires a very different, robust cyber infrastructure. Since 1990s, Jim Gray of Microsoft coined and championed the term fourth paradigm with his catchphrase, "It is the data, stupid." And since then, eScience, particularly which was coined by John Taylor of the UK Office of Science and Technology to name their large funding initiative, eScience, according to me, has become a catch-all phrase where data science, computationally rich or cyber infrastructure may meet scientific research. So from what I have understood about you and your work, you consider R as the right tool set. So please share with our viewers your journey, how you started as a student of biology. If I have understood your correctly, you have a bachelor's degree in biology and maths and quantitative sciences, and then have two masters, one master's in ecology and another master's in public health. And you went on to do a PhD in epidemiology and statistics, right? So you have kind of transitioned from life sciences, if I can say, to data sciences or R sciences. So please share with our audience your journey.
First of all, thank you for having me, Shalini, today. That's a pleasure for me. And R was the right tool for me. I'm not saying it will be the right tool for everyone. So yeah, I studied biology. And when doing so, I realized I preferred working at a computer than in a lab. So, which was the main motivation for me to choose a career I chose. And in my third year of the bachelor, we learned R, and I really liked playing with R code, seeing that when you want to do something, you can experiment and then look for the solution somewhere online, experiment again, and find a way to code what you wanted to. Of course, this is because this was a class where we had a lot of time to explore, because under pressure, this might not be as fun to do it this way. So that's why I looked for studies and then a PhD and jobs where I could work at a computer. Yeah, so that's the main explanation for why I left the lab, so to say.
So you think that you are an advocate of open science, right? Because you are part of now our open science. So do you think that open science, can you elaborate on what your view of open science is, and especially our open science?
Yeah, so our rOpenSci is a non-profit organization where we develop tooling and community, tooling mostly R, tooling and community to support open and reproducible science. So, like the ideas that, for instance, maybe you should share the data that you used in a paper. So I say maybe, but like it's probably best if you do, but sometimes you can't because the data is, data about patients or something like that. So how do you share the data? Where do you put the data? And we also have many tools for accessing data that has been shared. And the idea here is that when you have data somewhere online, so how are you going to access it? Are you going to click around and download the data set, or is there a way for you to script the data download, for instance? So that's the motivation behind quite a few of the packages in our suite. Or we have, for instance, a package for helping you orchestrate your workflow in a way that will save you time and save your computer time.
So tell us a little bit more about why you are so gung-ho about R. You have to sell R to everybody now. I know you have been doing that. So I want learn from you why you are so gung-ho about R. What is it about R that makes you so passionate about it?
Yeah, so R is the first programming language I really learned, because I had a few courses with MATLAB, I think, but R is the first one I had really time to explore. And then even if the R community isn't perfect yet, like there are some problems as in any other open source community, I was lucky to find a niche in a way, like communities where I felt at ease and with kind people all around, so which helped me stay in that community. And for the things that I did, R was always the right tool. So I think most often the limitations were rather my skills or experience rather than the language itself. So which made it also more a right tool to use. And when I say like a nice community, if we take the example of rOpenSci, where I'm currently a part-time research software engineer, when I wrote my first R package, so which was a package to access open air quality data, I submitted it to the package peer review system we have at rOpenSci. And that was my first contact with this organization, like submitting my package so that it would be reviewed like a scientific article, but openly and with nice reviews and what you get sometimes in journals. And that experience was really great. And that was like, people were so kind and I learned so much, package got so much better. And this is a kind of experience with kindness and helpfulness that help one say in our community and feel welcome.
Can you give us some specific, like 2 or 3 examples where you can say, this is what R could do, and you couldn't have got it without R?
Yeah. So I like to start with a caveat. I think most of the things R can do, you could do with other languages, maybe Python. But like, for instance, in R, you have a package for reading images into R, and like exactly what you could do as a command line with the magic tool, you can do that from R. There is a magic R package by my colleague Sharon Holmes. So you can do all these things from your R session. So that's one cool thing, playing with images, you can turn them around and you really see what you're doing. Then there are really good tools for organizing your workflow. When you have a long pipeline, when you transform the data into a model, then visualization. So sometimes these things take a lot of time, like not only your thinking time, but also the computer processing the data. So Will Lando created and submitted a package to rOpenSci called Targets. But if you express your pipeline with this package, then when you change something, it won't rerun all the things. It will just rerun the things that need to be updated. And this can save you a lot of time, because you don't need to, say, reprocess the whole data set if you just changed a color in your visualization. And it's also quite cool because when you use this package, you get a visualization of your pipeline, how the different steps fit together, which is sort of the image you might have in your head when you write a pipeline. You can sort of see the relationships between the steps, but this package helps you show this and also examine what the dependencies are between the steps. So that's the second thing. And let me think of a third example with R, but it really depends on the, for instance, data you're interested in. But chances are, if you're interested in a popular data source on the web, there will probably already be an R package that someone wrote to help you access this data without having to, for instance, write the curl request yourself. So this would be 3 things.
See, one of the things interesting, or rather intriguing thing that I read about you is about your famous quote, "My tool set will change your mindset about your data set." Okay, do you still? I understand that was part of your sort of a PhD thesis. You gave a quote. So, do you still believe that it's the tool set that actually kind of helps you analyze or gets you the insight about your data?
Yeah, and just to mention that it was an adaptation of a quote by Hans Rosling, who said, "Let my data set change your mindset." And because my PhD was about tooling, that's why I said tooling could help. Because in my PhD was about surveillance of infectious diseases. And you have all this data that public health institutes collect about, say, Salmonella, for instance. And when you don't do anything with this data, well, that's cool, it's there. Yeah. But applying some stuff on the data, you can, for instance, detect outbreaks as they start, like earlier that you might have done in another way, which means you can go look for the cause of the outbreak and prevent further cases. So that's change the mindset, and in that case, that can also change the outcome of an outbreak, because then you get less cases, so which is cool. These days, I still believe that, of course, that applying the right tool set to a data set can change what you do. But my focus is more on tool set than data sets. So my work has become more and more meta over the years. So I don't touch data very often. I mostly touch tool sets and how to write tool sets.
Yeah, I agree with you that it is the tool set that helps you analyze it differently, better, and all of that's true. I agree with you. But still, end of the day, it is the data, right? What data that you have. So that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and not only the data, but also the metadata, how your data is documented. Because otherwise, when you leave where you are on 3 years later, your data isn't valuable if it's undocumented. So yeah, of course, data and metadata is central to all these things.
Otherwise, we would go back to that old joke about statistics, right? There are 3 types of lies. Okay, and so we will go back to that. So it's about data, and as you said, metadata, and of course the how good the data set is important, just like how good your tool set is important. And I would say, end of the day, it's your mindset also. All 3 are important anyway. So you've been working with this open source community. So tell us a little bit more about your experience. Share your experiences in building this open source community, especially the R community, for example.
Yeah. So, like for me, when I entered this community, like seeing welcoming people and people that would not, like, for instance, I made mistakes. Of course, there were things I did terribly wrong. For instance, again, I'm going to quote an example. Like, for instance, I wrote a few blog posts about web scraping, and at the time, I didn't know about XML and HTML and the fact that you could use XPath to parse this data. So I was using regular expression, and it's terribly not efficient to do so to web scrape. And after I wrote one of his blog posts, so someone, I think this person, and I'm sure it was Bob Rudis, and I think he sent me a gift or something. Anyway, he sent me the code that will do these things correctly. And it was not at all in a mansplaining way. It was really helpful and kind. And this was so helpful. So, and to me, that's an inspiration to see people that have a lot of expertise and standing being so helpful and kind. So helping people learn without them feeling bad or stupid. So I think that's something I think one should emulate to build a community, really this idea of helping without making people feel inferior in any way. So that's one important aspect, I think.
So it's about, like, say, when it comes to the open source or for that matter, any community, is it the general shared values about it, or is it the fact that, you can make a big difference? I mean, like, it's like open source software and all of this actually stems from the general philosophy or ideology of collective intelligence, right? Together we can do better. I mean, as I said, it's more forgiving, you can learn, you can do whatever, etc. So my question to you is that what aspect of this open source community, especially in your case, it's the R open source community that is working very well. It's very good currently, and where it is going. Do you think you can?
So what do you mean? What do you mean by where is it going?
I mean, in the sense you are very happy about, let's say, you have the necessary, I would say, infrastructure, whether it is the GitHub, you need to build any community, you not only need people, you need many other things. Do you have that now? Have you reached that stage of a very robust, I would say, an infrastructure support system, etc., for the open source community?
So I think, but I want to say that, like, when you say the people, so I think we have a good art community, but it's still not perfect. And I would hope much of the progress would be there, but there are organizations such as RDD, Global Against Sexism, but then also the minorities in our organization for all types of minorities in the art committee. And the existence of such organizations means that the art committee has the same problems as many places. So sexism, racism, so all this, sad and classical things when you have so much power in the end of always the same usual suspects. So I would hope that this is where the progress is going to happen, like having more people. And rOpenSci itself got recently funding to help empower more participation, more broader participation in the open source committee, in particular our community. So I would hope the progress will be there, like technical infrastructure for sure, but sharing the power and opportunities with more people than it's currently.
Tell us a little bit more about your project, particularly in India. How you came to, how did you get involved with that project, and explain about that when, where, and what characterizing personal, whatever that CHAI, how do you pronounce that? The Chai project? Or?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the project and how you got involved with that project and your contribution or your take on that.
Yeah. So the Chai project was a research project researching the cardiovascular health effects of air pollution in Telangana in India. And my role in this was that I was a data manager and statistician. So I helped cleaning the data, storing in databases, documenting it with metadata, which I had never done before. So that's where I discovered metadata. And I also helped analyze a bit of the data. And of course, because there were so many data sources in this project, environmental, these devices that measure air pollution in the air at a fixed place, but also air pollution monitors that people wore during entire days. So there are really many sorts of data coming into this project. So organizing and seeing the data was a lot of work and was very interesting and rewarding in the end, because there are quite a few studies coming out of this.
So you mentioned about the metadata, the importance of metadata before also. So can you elaborate a little bit more about, some of the problems if metadata isn't there, what, trouble you will get into, that kind? Can you give us some examples of that based on your experience?
So what how we use metadata in this project? Yeah. So we had all these data sets, databases there, and to use them, for instance, to use measure of air pollution, you need to know the unit. So you need to store this information somewhere, right? That this was measured in this unit. And when I looked into this at the time, what I found was the ecological metadata language. So it has ecological in the name, but this is a metadata standard that you could use for any kind of data. So we used it. It's XML, so that doesn't sound super modern, but it's it works. And there is even an R package to create it. And what I found really cool was the very existence of the standard, having all these fields that you need to fill, all the checkboxes. It gave me a really good feeling, because I thought, okay, so for each of these variables, I need to enter unit and these things. And you kind of feel like it's a checklist that if you follow it, your data is documented very well. So that's worth the effort, and you feel better about your data afterwards, because it has all the labels that will be helpful for other people later.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, particularly coming from the library and information science community to which I belong. Metadata is, we say, it's very important. But the challenge there is the metadata standards themselves. There are too many of them. So how do you address that issue?
Yeah. So at the time, I don't even know if I was aware that there were many standards. I found this one because I think it was recommended to me by people in the rOpenSci community. So again, community, this is an important aspect, having people to ask questions to. And because there was an R package to create it directly from R. So that was the main reason why I used that. But I think at the end of the day, you can pick any metadata standard. If it's sort of exhaustive enough, it's good because it's machine readable. If you ever need to change to another standard, then you can write code to convert it, and it will still be better than free text, right? When having a Word document with all the descriptions.
Yeah, structured one is much better than unstructured any day, even though the label might create a problem. So you did another project on health impact assessment of cycling network expansions in 7 European cities. Please share your experience and insights from this project.
Yeah, so in this project, I helped gather data from OpenStreetMap. So at the time I was working in the Open Plan office. So Open Plan offices are horrible in general, but this is a good thing that happened in this Open Plan office. So a colleague of mine, Natalie Muller, she asked whether it was possible to get data from OpenStreetMap because she was studying the effect of cycling infrastructure on people's health. And she realized that there was so much data in OpenStreetMap. And I said, yes, I think we could figure that out. And that's why I got involved. So in the end, we figured that out. We found an R package to download the data. And she was able to do this simulation study on how you could improve the health of people in a city by adding more cycling infrastructure.
So based on your experience, can you just elaborate how important data management is in any project, especially research projects?
Yes, so also a question coming from your data librarian perspective, right? Yeah. So I've been a data manager 2 years, so of course I would say it's terribly important to have proper data management, but and because otherwise you won't be able to do anything with the data. And I'm thinking right now of a very influential paper by Kararu and Broman. It's a paper about how to structure spreadsheets. So, basic data management, you have a spreadsheet if you want to share it with statisticians or to reuse later. And that's a very powerful paper because it has simple steps. And I find it very interesting because a spreadsheet is something that anyone can use, right? It's not, because when we say databases, having a metadata standard as XML, it's sort of more complicated than just a spreadsheet. But just starting with some principles on how you should use a spreadsheet, for instance, not having only color to code something, that's really powerful.
So you have been working with XML quite a bit, right? So can you just share your experience with XML and what's your take on XML as a structured data tool, a data management tool?
Yeah, so in data management, I only used it for the metadata standard called Ecological Metadata Language. But these days at work, I use XML very regularly.
I know.
So I've come to like it.
No, I fully agree with you about the simple, like whether spreadsheet or simple. As a teacher, I have been teaching. So I tell my students, usually when they submit an assignment, they write my assignment. I said, everybody writes my assignment. So I download it and then how do I know whose is I need to, connect the email, then with the my assignment file name, etc. I said, please get into the habit of, writing your name or some part of your name, etc. into your assignment. Otherwise, and also I'll be teaching more than one course. So my assignment is which course? See, this course, your name, etc. So metadata, in general is very important. Data management is very important. So I wanted to hear from you, a toolset person, about this metadata and XML as a useful tool. So you are quite happy with your experience of XML for this purpose, right?
Yeah, but there is a cool R package in the rOpenSci suite, which is currently maintained by Bryce Meckham. It's called Data Spice, because metadata is sort of spice you add to the data. And it has tools to help you enter metadata with data frames. And it also has a Shiny app, so an interactive interface. So you can enter metadata describing your data set in a way that's much more intuitive than, not intuitive, but maybe like in a way that's easier than using the EML package for creating ecological metadata language metadata. So data space might be sort of a bridge, between having no metadata at all and using EML. And so it's really handy.
Moving on to your another, I would say, pet project, the R Ladies Global handling of that, Twitter handling experience. Could you share some of your experiences and, some anecdotes, etc., about your experience there?
Yeah, so R Ladies is an organization that whose aim is to increase gender diversity in the R community. And I became involved with it because I was a co-organizer for the Barcelona chapter of R Ladies Global. So that was a chapter in Barcelona, Spain. And at the time, there was one of the founders of the global organization managing the Twitter account, and at some point she had less time, and she looked for people that spend a lot of time on Twitter to replace her. So that's how I started this account. Since then, I spend actually less time on Twitter, but I still manage this account. So the Twitter account is just a mirror of what happens in the RLDs community. So, for instance, we try to retweet events when they're online, which is very much the case for all events these days. And all these activities are like, there are many activities, so local chapters. So these are meetups. So we have events where people present packages or stuff they know how to do in R. So that's one aspect. There is also another Twitter account called We Are Our Ladies, which is a rotating creator account. So this is quite cool. One person is in charge of this account for 1 week. There is also related to the meetups, it can be a bit daunting to create a new meetup. So there is a team that organizes mentorship from experienced organizers to help new organizers. So that's another thing that RLDs Global organizes. So a lot of different activities under the RLDs Global umbrella. I've not even mentioned all the things happening as well. And my only role in this is to retweet things. So that's a very small piece.
So the main, I would say, motivation is to bring diversity, especially women, gender, into this
yes, not only
community
women.
software. See, generally, maybe it's not so much a European one, at least the North American or the American US thing is, it's changing now, is women don't get into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they don't want to appear to be nerdy. I mean, for me, nerd is a compliment. I mean, but not many people think that nerd or, and sometimes, I mean, at least I have heard stories of some women saying that, they just don't want to look smart in these mathematics or any of those STEM related areas. So my question to you is it that your Our Ladies Circle is helping people to bond over, share, and then build that community of women in the software?
So first of all, it's not only for women; it's for all gender minorities. So not only cis and trans women, but also non-binary people, trans men. So it's open to all gender minorities. And then yes, their goal is to inspire people. So if you attend many ladies meetups, you will see hopefully many ladies that some of them look nerdy, and so you will see that you will feel inspired. People will also be empowered, because that might be an ladies meetup might be the first meetup at which a person will give a talk and feel like an expert in front of a friendly audience. Because for instance, all ladies meetups have a code of conduct, and it's so we ensure a nice atmosphere. So that's our idea, to empower people and to inspire people and to support people. Also because all these local meetups have events, of course, but you kind of have Slack workspaces for the global ladies community and also some more local Slack workspaces. So say if something happens to you like that feels sexist or so, you will find support and people to talk to about these things.
So you would also be kind of, some kind of activism as well, right? It's not just a community to inspire and motivate people.
Like it'd be hard to
yeah,
you have to take a stance.
It can't all be it can't all be effort that, not only on this issue, any issue, taking a stand is something that is very important, because these days I think people are little, maybe it's my age or whatever, I say youngsters are a little more I would say reluctant to take a stand and say, why get into this? That's what I have observed. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. So I'm very happy to hear that, this is not just, the Our Ladies Global is not just it's important, of course, inspiring and motivating and all that, mentoring and all that is important. But I would think personally that, taking a stand is also Very important. Now, I would like to come to finally to your blogging experience. I mean, since the days of, I don't know, since the last 15 years or so, I have been sort of, thinking that I should start a blog. I have never done it because in the initial period, I said blogging is more about bragging. Okay, that was one of the. I said, you were talking about yourself. Then I realized, no, there is so much to share. No, so not to say anything about it, it's about bragging, but I would just try to understand how your experience of blogging has been and how you are able to, use this platform to share your experience, to motivate, to get more people onto this area, for example.
Yeah, so it's a fun question to me to answer because my own personal blog is not very active these days. But that's one of the way I sort of got more involved in the R community, blogging about stuff I was doing with R, because I had seen bloggers do that, and I was very much inspired by such R bloggers such as Julia Sergi. But I don't think you need to have a blog to get involved in the R community. Some people do not enjoy that, and these days I have less time for my own personal blog, but I still blog about some topics, on the rOpenSci blog or the R blog about our package development. And my experience with blogging has been positive when I had a lot of time to blog. There are setting up a blog, it doesn't have to be very complicated. So there are, of course, tools to set up blogs such as Blogdown, Yugadon, and Distill. So you can, in a short amount of time, depending on your amount of perfectionism regarding colors and fonts and stuff, you can set up a blog and start sharing analysis that you've done or just stuff that you've learned. And because it doesn't, for when I was blogging, most often I would take data from somewhere or try to get data from somewhere, but in the end it could be presenting a package that maybe most other people know or you think they do, but you have your unique perspective on it, or maybe someone will see your post and that will be the first time they've ever heard of this package. But my point would be that anyone has something to share, but I recount that it takes a lot of time, and I totally understand that not everyone has the time to do so.
Okay, my final question to you is, since we are talking about R in general, open science also, can you give us one or two examples where you can say it is this shared data that led to advancement of this particular scientific research, etc. Very concrete example do you have?
That'd be a hard question for me.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to put you.
But let's just say, like the example of OpenStreetMap, just to remember, OpenStreetMap OpenStreetMap is really, really incredible. So much data. It's not necessarily used for research only, but it can be used for research because it's so big and data that has been contributed to by so many people. So this is for me really a cool example, and it's data you can access through several means. There are different ways to interact with data, and if you're researching something related to infrastructure, for instance in cities, then it's really important data. Yeah.
Thank you. So your gung-ho about R and your experience with R is very good, and you are contributing to the building of this R community. So you are almost evangelical in R, right? Is that right?
Sorry, I didn't get the last word. Sorry.
Evangelical. You are trying to convert. You are trying to convert. I don't know R much, but not that I have used R too much. But I know about R. I know I've used it a little bit. Beyond that, see, I'm more. Let me define myself as a generalist. Okay, I know about everything a little bit. I can manage to, as you said, if I need to, I can go and learn a little bit of that and then use it. But I haven't had the need. So far in my research or in my activity, I didn't have to go deeper into R. So the reason I'm asking this question, eventually, is you want more people to join so that it becomes robust and better, right? So it serves that's the whole purpose of open source community, right? So that's why I said, can I describe you as a or evangelist?
I'm not sure. Happy user and developer. But I totally understand when people use other tools, or I find it cool to be that you're a generalist because you know many different tools, and that's good to be able to pick. Whereas I am in my
You are in your
in my little niche.
I know. It's so good to listen to you, talk to you, chat with you. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Maëlle. So if you can have, just like your thesis advisor, I'm going to ask you one final quote for our audience.
Oh no, can I use the same?
Sure,
You know, when my advisor asked me that, I had like 24 hours to think. So it's
Go
to
shout it out. Go ahead and say this is your final thesis. Go ahead. It should come from you.
Yeah, so I would just find a kind community to belong to, like find other people to exchange, no matter the tool you use, like find a kind community to, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Maëlle. So it was wonderful chatting with you. Hope to see you somewhere sometime.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.